Good morning, everyone. And this is Vinod representing Tally.ERP and Snippet and iSilv Academy. This is our video number 4 on how to build a balance sheet or how to pen a balance sheet in Tally if you're using Tally for the very first time. So if you want to pen a balance sheet, so you need to have the basic logic that we need to have a balance sheet. Again, I'm creating a very basic balance sheet here. I'm not creating any cumbersome big balance sheet here. So I'm going to create a very small balance sheet in this list. And when I work with this balance sheet, now I want to just explain you certain basic logic here. So when I go for the balance sheet, I will go according to the Tally part, and I'm going to create a brand new company right now called create company. And then I'm going to just say Sunrise. This is the company that I want to feed the balance sheet and continue my books of accounting. So I'm going to just feed the basic requirement. So if you can able to do that at the moment, you can do it. Or if you want to do it later, you always have the option of doing it by altering the company details again. So when I create the company itself, I would like to feed all the information that is required here. And I'm going to just feed that data here and show the information that is required. And I'm creating the balance sheet for the financial year 1/4/2020. So you can see that it is automatically picked up here. So if you are having a different financial year altogether, then you can feed them in this list. So and keep giving enter until you save your company. So now when I give an enter right now, this company will be saved and it will open a window for us to feed our balance sheet. If you closely watch this particular data, now I have the entire screen of Tally where I can just say the different menus are available: masters, transaction, utilities, and reports. Now I'm going to create a balance sheet. So to create a balance sheet, I'm going to use the first and the foremost option available in Tally called accounts info. When I give an enter in accounts info, you can see that I have a set of menus coming up here. In this 3 menu, I'm going to use only the first 2 menu, groups and ledgers. And if you are gonna get my PDF, uh, once you get the PDF, you can just browse my book so that you can see what are the groups and how many groups are available and so on. I'm giving a small tip here. I'll show a screenshot also of my book so you can understand that how it's going to work for us. When I get into the Tally, you have a lot of predefined or inbuilt structures available in Tally. So whatever the inbuilt that I will be terming in Tally terminology called predefined. So when I get into the groups, you can see that I have all the options are active. If I'm going to create something new, then only the create button will be active. The rest of the button will be maybe grayed out. But all the buttons are active here. So I think something is there inside available. I want to see how many of them are there. So to see all of them in one shot, I'm going to use a multiple group display option. So I'm just navigating with an arrow mark here. If you are prolific, or if once you start understanding what are these are, then it's easier for us to work around better. So if you see, I have one letter or all caps in my menus: C, D, A, R, I, T, and so on. So these are all keyboard shortcuts, or I can call this as hotkeys in Tally. That allows you to navigate to the respective menu. So if I want to jump to the display multiple group, I don't want to scroll down every time to do this. So I can just, wherever the cursor is, if I know the keyboard shortcut that is all I, okay, when I press an I, you can see that it automatically jumps to the selected group. Then when I go to all item, you can see multiple group display menus are displaying for us. And on the serial numbering side, you can see that I have 28 of the groups are available. And if I want to just learn more about the groups, so let me just show you how the groups are coined. Let me go back to my book that I have here. You can get this book for free of cost, and you can just mail your ID and subscribe the YouTube channel. You get your basic book for free. I will immediately mail you back once I get the mail IDs here. So now I'm going to just jump back to my first screen, and I'm going to go back to my grouping list here. So come down. So let me just come back to our list. So I'm going to go for the groups. And when I go down to the group, you can see that. So we can see how many groups we have here. So in Tally, as I showed you earlier, I have 28 predefined groups, and you can see that it is bifurcated into two. 15 of them comes in primary group and 13 of them comes in a subgroup. Out of the 15, they are divided to 3 different reporting: balance sheet, profit and loss account, and trading account. And the subgroups are all appears only in the balance sheet, not in any other list. So what are these groups are? So you can see that in the bottom, the 9 group that appears in your balance sheets are the following: 4 of them in trading and 2 of them in profit and loss account, and 13 of them which is going to appear in our balance sheet as a subgroup. So probably this I would have explained you in our horizontal balance sheet too. So if you see, whatever I have a bold text in here are all groups. What is not bolded, they are all ledgers, and what is bolded with an italics in it are called subgroups here. So most of the groups will be available in Tally for us. So if you go down to my list, you can see most of them are available. If you want to check that, you can do that. I'll come back to my horizontal balance sheet again. My first group on the liability side is capital. So I can see a capital account. Then I have a secured loan. So I have to just scroll down and click, give a space bar to secured loan, unsecured loan. It is there. And then you can see current liabilities. So these are all my primary groups available in the list. I have 2 subgroups here: sundry creditor and bank overdraft. So these are the groups that I've used in this balance sheet to build my balance sheet in for a list. And if I want the groups to be listed for the asset side, so I have 2 primary groups and 4 subgroups. Fixed assets is one of the primary group, current is another primary group, and I can see cash in hand, bank account, loans and advances, and sundry debtors. So I'm going to just say sundry debtors, cash in hand, bank account, and loans and advances. So I do have all my groups available in Tally itself at the moment for this exercise. So I really don't want to create a group. So the grouping part is over. As I told you earlier, when I start pinning a balance sheet, I don't use the third option, voucher type. That is not of use at the moment. I'm going to use the first 2 option called groups and ledgers. As for this exercise, I don't think we are about to even create a group. We are so keen to create the ledger part. Again, when I go to the ledger again, for my surprise, I can see all of them are active again. So do I have all these ledgers available? No. When you go to Tally, what is universally used by every company, no matter what size your company is, no matter what sector your company is, all the company uses those component will only be given as predefined or inbuilt. So if you go down to this point, you can only see the ledger which is used by every entity in the world. Whether you live in North America, or you are in North Korea, or you are in Brazil, or you are in some small island near Japan and China, everywhere you will be using this. So if you closely watch, I have the ledgers here, but there is no value for it. So Tally doesn't know what cash balance that you maintain in your accounting. Tally doesn't know what is your previous year profit and loss account, which you are about to transfer to the reserves and surplus. So Tally will not give you information, or may not know the information that you have it in your system. So now we are about to feed them into the respective ledgers. So whenever I start feeding a balance sheet first, I wish to feed the inbuilt one first, then I can switch them to the other part. So I'm going to just go back to my alter option single ledger, and then I'm going to feed the value here. I'm going to just come down here, 2250. Here we go, that's the value for me, and I'm saving it. Then I come back to my profit and loss account, control N to jump to the last line, and 285000, and it picks up the credit automatically. So now I fed my basic 2 ledgers opening balances. Now I have to create the rest of them. Whenever I create a ledger for the first time, I preferably request every one of the students who are trying for the first time, please use single ledger creation. Multiple ledger creation is very easy to work around. I'll be uploading a video on that too. But the problem is when we are using the single ledger, it is always safe. So we save it and we do it better. We will follow, this is a basic bookkeeping series. So when I come to the advanced bookkeeping series, I'll try to use the other component and how to do the other way around. Now we will go in a legitimate way. We learn things as simple as possible. So I'm going to use a single ledger creation, and I'm going to start creating my ledgers. When I go down to ledger creation, I'm going to feed each and every ledger right now. So I'm interested in creating the ledger belong to my liability side now. So I'm going to create Swami's Capital, mortgage loan, personal loan, and then the sundry creditors breakup like central agency, bullseye business, Newton business tools, and overdraft account in Andhra Bank. So these are the ledgers I'm going to create right now. So let's come back to Swami's Capital. And once I feed the name of the ledger, I have to coin them. So I'm going to coin under capital account. So you can see that the ledgers given below and the groups above is where you have to coin your ledgers. So once you have done that, you don't want to do anything other than this. Just jump to the last line called opening balance by pressing Control End and just feed the value here. So I'm going to just feed the value 5 lakhs and save it. So as I feed the value, my balance sheet total appears on the right hand side of my list here. So you can see that there is a line here, it comes here. This is where the data will be fed. Once you complete your balance sheet, you can see that the total will be 37,65,000 in here. And once you feed the asset sides, then that will match here. There will not be any difference once you fed all the ledgers in here. So we're going to feed all the one of them. So I'm going to just say mortgage loan, and it comes under secure loan. So now I don't want to scroll down like this. It's going to take a lot of time. I'm going to just type it. So when I type it this, so that saves a lot of time, and I can just use it a little faster than what I do by scrolling it down. So now the next ledger is going to be my personal loan, and I come down here, I'll see UN, unsecured loan, then I'm going to give the valuation here. And then now I'm going to go to the next part called central agencies. Again, when I come down to this ledger, this is where my real headache starts, because I have two groups here, one primary group and one subgroup. If I add the data to my subgroup, it will automatically be coined under the primary group because my subgroup is coined under primary group. So if you see, I'm just adding the central agency, I'm going to use this as sundry creditor. When I give an enter, you can see that sundry creditor comes automatically inside my current liability. So I don't want to worry about it. Just jump to the last line and feed the value, save it. You don't want to add anything other than that. Just you can Control A to save it, or you can just tap down it or enter it until you reach the save button. So now it is in the same group. So I'm going to jump and to the last line and feed the value alone. So I'm not going to just group them, and I can give a Control A here to save it. The same way, I'm going to just work around with Newton business tools and Control and feed the values here, 15,000, Control A. So as I feed the value, you can see that the valuations are added, and overdraft account in Andhra Bank. It comes under bank overdraft, Control End, 25 lakhs, Control A. So now we can see that automatically my liability sides are all over as I fed the profit and loss account and cash on my initial front itself, so that you can see that my grand total says 37,65,000 and odd, and you can see the 37,65,000 to my. Now I'm going to add the other side of my balance sheet. I've already added the cash here, so I'm going to add the rest of the ledgers. So you can continue where you have left from. You don't want to just come out of the screen to feed them again or feed the values again. So you can just start typing your balance sheets here. So if it is belong to one particular grouping, so you can just directly jump to the last line of your screen, so that saves logics or a little more time. Again, you will get used to this component very easily as you started using it. So initially you will not be as fast as I show you here, but once you have know what is your flow of it, and then that makes your job easier. So you can just type all the data one by one. So I cannot feed the cache. If I try to feed the cache, let's say what happens. It says that I'm sorry, you already have it. So if I forgot that I fed the cache earlier, you can just feed it. So now I'm going to just go to the next part and feed my bank. And I'm going to count them under bank accounts. Please remember, when you are switching to a new group of headers, whether you have done the grouping correctly or not. So that's the most important part. Sometimes you will be carried away by just feeding the value. Just you'll jump to the control end. Once you're in rhythm, you'll forget that which group it's going to come under. So you will be started feeding the data continuously. So don't do that. So whenever you switch to new groups, so do keep in mind that you have to change the groups even in here. So I'm just switching wherever we can. And if it is continuous, then I don't want to worry about it, how it's happening in my list. So now I'm just feeding the values. So I'm just giving the values here. And then, yeah, I have loan to. So wherever it is a similar group, I'm just repeating the same logic again. Jump to the valuation and feed it. Wherever you are adding a new group, for the first time, if you're adding it, please ensure that you are giving the values or the grouping correctly so that you can feed it. At times, we will even give a wrong values here and there. So forget about it. If you have made a small mistakes here and there, so you can always correct them. You have an option to correct your mistakes. You can see whether the balance sheets are tallied before even you go to the reporting. And once you have done it correctly, so most of your answers will be done correctly here. So you have to just be a little patient and try to be more accurate and concentrate when you work on your data. Other than that, you don't want to worry much about it. So all the data will be properly done by the system on most of the occasion correctly. So you don't want to worry more about it. So I've just fed all my data, and you can see that my balance sheet is automatically getting tallied before even I save my last ledger. So you can see that it gives you 37,65,000 and odd. So this is how we feed our balance sheet. Now I would like to see the balance sheet. To see the balance sheet, I'm going to give an escape and reach the first screen. So if you don't know which is the first screen, keep giving escape until you reach this part where it shows you yes or no to quit tally. So you're going to say, no, don't quit tally. I want to see the tallies report right now. Then to go back to our list, go to your reporting balance sheet here, give an enter, and then give Alt F1 so that you can see a detailed mode of it. You can use the keyboard shortcut Alt F1 even onto the right. The right hand side, you can see, you can condense it and you can give a detailed mode of the data here also. So this is the way we deal with our balance sheet feeding and see whether the balance sheet are tallied properly. Remember, when you are feeding values wrongly in two different points, it is going to still tally the balance sheet. So probably you would have learned about this called compensating error. So don't do the compensating errors so that you don't commit mistakes. So try to feed the value correctly. And if you want to cross verify, you can cross verify it. Your capital is 5 lakhs. Here it is. Yes, it is. Your bank overdraft is this much. Your security loan is this much, and your current liabilities are different. And your profit and loss account, you can see the fixed assets coming as 8,80,000 rupees on the left, and your cash and bank account comes as 4.6 lakhs plus 2250 on cash. Debtor is 1.4 lakhs, and your total loans and advances is 23,36,000. So you can see all of them are coming up correctly. So my data are all perfect. So this is how we will feed our balance sheet. So with this, we are coming to an end of how to feed our balance sheet. Hope you learned something new. This is Vinod signing out from Tally.ERP and Snippet and representing iSelf Academy on opening balance feeding in Tally. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe it, like it, and do send a comment to me to improvise it. Thank you so much.